What's up? Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Thank you. Before I start, I want to say full and total support to Enoch Burke, and if anybody can get a message to him, let them know that I said that, because this is a fella that needs total support and he should be freed. The fact that TDs that are out there now wanted to be interested in bringing Lisa Smith and Ibrahim Halawa back to this country, but are not interested in talking about this case, which is scandalous, says an awful lot and lets you know everything you need to know about the current state of this country. It is currently disgusting the way it is being run, and it is disgusting the way this man is being treated. And what they want to do is they want to make this the norm. Look at what they're talking about with this whole hate speech stuff. This hate speech stuff is only going to apply to certain people, and it always seems to apply to Christians, by the way. It doesn't seem to apply to anybody else. It seems to apply to Christians, and in particular white males. That's every single time. Everyone else though, oh no, you're alright, you're all good over there, but white males every single time. Because they know, they understand that that's where things are going to go, which is people are going to return to Christianity, and there is going to be a massive movement going forward, particularly a nationalist movement. And who's that going to be spearheaded by? Well, they know exactly who, and that's why they don't want that to gather steam. So that's the biggest thing that's happening in the background. But what's happening here to me is huge. Mr. Burke was making an application to have a full hearing of the action taken against him by his employer postponed until after his appeal against a number of previous High Court orders is heard. During his submissions, he said 4 High Court judges had denigrated or disregarded his religious beliefs instead of upholding the Constitution as they had taken an oath to do. Awesome stuff. He said their actions were shameful and manifestly unlawful. Mr. Burke has been in jail since the 5th of September. So he's been in jail for over 2 months. Ultimately, for not following nonsense. And nonsense is what it is. The school board, the school itself, the former principal could all drop this, no problem. But they won't. And that's the important thing to know. First of all, I want to say this. Where are all the parents that are in this school? Where are they at? Why are they not supporting Enoch Burke? Why have they not come together? Because nothing will get something moving quicker by saying to them, here, listen, we're whipping our kids out of this school and they're not going to be able to fill the school. That would frighten these people, particularly on the board, and make it very clear to them that it's about Enoch Burke. Because what you're doing is you're opening a serious can of worms if you're just going to shrug your shoulders and say, oh well, don't care, because this man has been treated this way. Now, whether you like him or agree with him or not, this is what's happening, and they're going to use it against you eventually. The thing is with lefties and ideologies like lefties that do have is this: it's ultimately going to come to you at some stage. You might cheer it on and bring it on in, no problem, but it's ultimately going to come to you. Secondly, when you have people that are out there that like to say, hey listen, he breached a court order, well, you're the same person that didn't mind the Geneva Convention being broken, you didn't mind the Nuremberg Code being broken, and thirdly, I'm going to say this, you'd be the same person cheering the people manhandling Rosa Parks off a bus. Actually, as a matter of fact, that's too good for you. You'd be the person squealing about Rosa Parks being on the bus and where she was. That's the type of person you are. So don't try to come in here and be sanctimonious and say, oh, you know, he's breaking a court order. You don't care about rules. You don't care about laws. You've no interest. So out you go. Anyway, going back to this. 2 months this guy is sitting in jail and no TD has made any sort of movement with trying to get this fella out. Weird, isn't it? Like I said before, Lisa Smith and Ibrahim Halawa are people that TDs here in this country went tooth and nail about to get them back into this country, but one of our own, whilst I might not share the same exact religion as this guy, one of our own ultimately been treated this way. Not a peep. It's disgusting, isn't it? It really is disgusting. And by the way, I want a big shout out there to Ferg, who's outside Mountjoy, from what I understand, every single day protesting for the freedom of this man. Absolute legend. We'll move on here and we'll talk about this here. The school sought an injunction when Mr. Burke continued to attend the school despite being suspended on full pay as a part of a disciplinary process. And see, what they'll do is here, they'll say, I was suspended on full pay, but you want him to stay away from a job that he loves and he's good at. When you're talking about a teaching crisis and a substitute teacher crisis in the media, you want him to stay away. Like ridiculous stuff over nonsense. And that's what they keep throwing out there. Yeah, but he was paid. Listen, people were paid to do very negative things in 1930s, 1940s Germany and in the last couple of years, and they just done it. because they were paid. So I don't know what you're getting at there. You're thinking that pay is the ultimate master of all. It's not. People's morals and integrity are very important. Disciplinary process began after Mr. Burke publicly confronted the then principal over a request to call a pupil a new name and use they/them pronouns. Fantastic stuff, absolutely right to do so. These are the same people, by the way, in management that would have been running down around places telling people to open windows whilst it was freezing, whilst having the heating on, that are now complaining about bills in the media, and then the same people then that were running after people telling them to put masks on. So if you want to tell me about people being harassed or anything like that there, you have to look very much so close to the home when you're talking about that there. Mr. Burke is appealing the granting of the temporary and permanent injunctions to the school, as well as the High Court's refusal to grant him injunctions stopping his suspension. A date of 16 February has been set for the appeal to be heard, and Mr. Burke says the main action taken against him by his employer should not go ahead until after that. So they are letting you know they want to keep him in there until after Christmas, which is one of the most important, if not the most important, times of year for a Christian. And these people are going to deny him that. What a disgusting system we live in. What a disgusting judicial system we live in with that going on. They're able to fast track other things, no problem whatsoever. This nonsensical situation here that should have been waved away, as Enoch says, is being left like this, and they want them to be sitting there for even longer. Disgraceful it is. Enoch then referenced the Soviet Union, North Korea or China, and he said there was a very different view of religious liberty, but he said the judges who had heard the injunction applications had opened the gate leading religious liberty to be lost and allowing a teacher to spend 2 months in prison for expressing his religious beliefs. Ultimately what it's about, and the fact that the school is saying that it champions the idea and it was totally going against it, lets you know everything you need to know too. By the way, where are the clergy in all this? Where are they? Where are they? And that has to be kept being asked. He said the judge's actions were deliberate and heralded a dark day for religious liberty. He said the judges should never have granted the injunctions against him. Instead, he said, when the school came into court, it should have been told, begone with your unlawful request. That's absolutely what should have happened. 100%. When you go back at and you look at who was involved, it's no shock. The court should have been told that the Christian beliefs were inviolable, and Christian beliefs in male and female could not be rendered void by an earthly court. Boom. What a thing to say. Absolutely awesome. Mr. Burke said his case was not just about him. If the actions of the judges were not reviewed by the Court of Appeal, he said other teachers and workers could be treated in the same way and no one would blink an eye. And that's what it's about. You see, they're trying to say to you, oh, he was being paid for dealing with nonsense. No. The thing is that later on down the line, everybody's going to be treated like this. And do you fancy being on the likes of a job site or in various other jobs and saying to people, what's the story with that? And then being told, oh, by the way, you can't say that. You have to call them they, them. Like, that's what this is opening itself up to. Clown world. This is clown world commentary. This is why I do these things. The next teacher to refuse to call a boy a girl because of their religious beliefs would rot in prison, he claimed. That's where they're moving towards with this hate speech stuff, by the way. And haven't you noticed it's always against Christians and particularly white males? They understand, they know that there is a very serious movement coming forward and is coming across the world, which is awesome to see, and they're trying to get ahead of it. The judges had normalised prejudice against religious beliefs, he said, and this would cause irreparable harm. Enoch then went on to say the school should be going into court in fear and trembling, he said, but he claimed it had all been stitched up. 99.99% of the people if asked would say his case was about Transformers, but he said there was something seriously wrong when a High Court judge had claimed with a straight face that it was not. The dog on the street knows what it's about. He said he needed to get what he called the egregious miscarriage of justice he had suffered dealt with in the appeal court before the trial of the action in the High Court. Barrister Rosemary Mallon, acting for the school, said all of Mr. Burke's claims could be ventilated at the hearing of the action. The school could drop this at any time, but this lets you know that the ideology of Transformers is more important to an awful lot of people in this little circle here than the ideology of the Church of Ireland, which this school is supposed to represent and supposed to promote. That's just letting you know what's going on here. So where are the clergy in all this? The judge said he would give his decision on a later date, but there were a few comments he had to make. He said Mr. Burke's attempt to compare Ireland to the former USSR and other regimes was entirely without merit. Has this judge had his head in the sand for the last 2 years, has he? That's unreal. That's absolutely unreal. He said this was shown by the fact that he allowed Mr. Burke to make lengthy submissions and was talking about against members of the bench. Don't disagree. Mr. Justice or more said strident language was frequently used. He said he was not saying that was the case here, but he criticised Mr. Burke's use of such language. The judge also referenced what he described as one of the great elements of Christian teaching, that you should do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, this is what these people choose to use. They choose to use that against you and choose to use little portions that they like. What these people all like to forget, by the way, that Jesus, our Lord and Saviour, was a person who taunted, who walked away from people that he opposed, and also then name-called people he opposed. Not to mention, he chased people out of places. So this is what these individuals all hone in on. They hone in on, oh, just walk on and say nothing. No, our Lord and Saviour did something completely different back then, and if you knew that, you would understand why this fella is standing up the way he is and why he is standing up for it. See what I'm saying? They pick and choose and they try to use your own stuff against you, but what you need to know and need to remember is what our Lord and Saviour did, and that's exactly what this fella is taking a leaf out of the book of our Lord and Saviour, by standing up for what he believes in and standing up and speaking out importantly for what he believes is right and what is, in my opinion, right. So final thoughts on this one. Free Enoch Burke being the first thing. The second thing is this: fair play to Ferg and all of the other people, by the way, massive shout out to them, that are outside Mount Joy protesting for this. And the third thing and final thing I want to say about this is, this has been an absolute circus, and it has shown that the justice system here in this country is completely upside down, and it favours some very negative people, and it doesn't favour average normal individuals, and this case to me exemplifies that. You have people running around this country that have done heinous things, and there's nothing been done about them. You have a guy out here that said, no, I don't believe a boy can be a they, them. I certainly don't believe a boy can be a girl. Absolutely not. And this is the end result, which is a man that is potentially looking at sitting in jail over Christmas. 2 months in now already. 2 months in jail. And yeah, you have people out there that were given bogus science for the last 2 years, that were doing very negative things to your civil liberties, your rights, your freedoms, and now they're coming after a specific religious faith which they've been coming after for a very long time, and they're starting to try and wedge the door open. Very important to stand up to this immediately. Full support to Enoch Burke. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below. It's part of the channel.